And I can tell you, it's not always easy being a different height than someone else, as you might be seeing here. The average height for an American man is 6'5". Actually, no, it says 5'9". For a woman, the average height in the U.S. is 5'4". But Becky Thomas and Lee Herman, who you just saw, are anything but average.
I'm 6'4", and I'm a woman. Everywhere I go, people gawk and comment on my appearance. Oh my gosh, look at that girl, she's so tall. I was very tall at a young age. In kindergarten, first grade, I was probably 5 feet tall. By middle school, I was at least 6 feet. Sometimes the boys picked on me, calling me a beanpole or the Jolly Green Giant. People always ask me if I play basketball. I've always been more of a track girl. There are times when I would trade in my long legs for a petite frame and tiny feet. My feet hang off my bed when I sleep. All I can afford is a compact car, and I can drive it, but it's a little uncomfortable after a while. The retail industry doesn't exactly cater to a woman with a 37-inch inseam. That's not going to work. And size 14 feet. If I go to the mall, I'm not going to find anything. I can't find shoes anywhere. I order them online. When I was younger, middle school, high school, I never had boyfriends. I never dated. There's this whole stigma that the man needs to be taller than the woman, and that made me really self-conscious. And I realized that, you can't limit yourself to someone taller than you. It doesn't bother my boyfriend and I that I'm taller than him. I just need a companion, like someone to share my life with. And I don't need a taller guy to do that. It's all about what's inside. I mean, as cheesy as that sounds, it's true.
I'm a 5-foot-tall man. I am not a midget. I am not a dwarf. I am just a smaller person. When I was a kid, growing up, I was always the smallest one. Most people have a stepladder in their kitchen. I got a 4-foot ladder in my kitchen. But in a taxi cab, I can't see completely out of the window. Going shopping in the supermarket can be frustrating for me because I can't reach stuff. Thank you so much. It's a lot of standing on my tippy toes and kind of knocking things down and catching them. As far as pants go, in my entire life, I have never been able to buy something off the rack and it haven't fit me. Never. In the workplace, I'll walk into a room and I can see people whispering to themselves saying, "Who's this guy?" Why would anybody listen to a guy that's 5 feet tall? When you look on TV or you look at a magazine, they don't show 5-foot guys in there. Women have this, perception of what their perfect man should be, and I certainly am not that. I could see maybe a little bit of disappointment when maybe they talk to me on the phone and then they meet me in person, and then I can see it as like, that guy was a great guy, but boy, I wish he was only 5 inches taller. I can't change the fact that I'm 5 feet tall. So I'm either going to embrace that or I'm going to be miserable, and I am not going to be miserable.
Becky Thomas is a senior at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, and Lee Herman is a financial consultant here in New York. And Jeff Gardere is a clinical psychologist. And good morning to all of you.
Hey, good morning.
Can I just say, 37 inseam? I'm a 36. Now, I'm a little taller than you are, right? I'm about...
I've got my heels on.
Oh, okay. Well, so I'm 6'5". I'm about an inch. One of the things that I think is interesting, for Lee and Becky, for you to comment on, at our height... the short and the tall of it, the way people experience us, or their first reaction to us, is always striking because our appearance, is the first thing that somebody will actually note. How is that for you guys?
I think it's even more striking because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And I haven't ever met a woman taller than me. So, as a man, I think it's a little bit more normal for you because men are usually taller. That's assumed. So.
Right.
And the same for Lee, sure, because women could be 5 foot and nobody's going to bat an eyebrow.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. And I think when most people actually do, meet me, they're not quite sure what to expect. And then they meet me and I realize that I'm just a normal person.
But what are the real challenges, Lee, that you experience in terms of assumptions that people make, or just judgments that people make initially?
Well, I think, most people think that I'm not capable or smart or I couldn't handle certain tasks. but that's absolutely not the case whatsoever.
As a matter of fact, studies do show that when someone is taller, especially a male, that we tend to attribute them having more power, more authority, more intelligence. As a matter of fact, MBAs who are over 6'2" end up making 12.7% more money than people under 6'2" who happen to be more intelligent. So heightism, discrimination of people because of their height is very real in this world, and I mean all over the world.
Right, right.
And everybody thinks about, I mean, when you both talked about dating and relationships, that's the first thing that comes into most people's minds. What is the hardest thing about it?
I mean, I would guess, people just overcoming the uncomfortableness. And I would imagine you have the same kind of thing.
But you have a guy 3 inches shorter now. It doesn't bother him, right? So
no, but I didn't date until just like a few years ago because I always wanted a guy taller than me, and that shrunk from I have this many guys to choose from, and what are the chances that I'm gonna make a connection with that
And,
small number?
Meredith, we do see any woman who's over 5'11" does have those issues. 5'11" because that's the average height of models. But I think most smart guys perhaps would have no problem with a tall woman like this because this is someone they could look up
at the
to
movie
as far as their
stars,
love.
like Tom Cruise with the much taller girls and all that.
But Becky Lee, to both of you, I mean, my experience has been at a certain point in my life, I really stopped thinking about my height as much as I did when I was younger. So what advice do you have for people who do struggle with this in terms of adapting and no longer making it, for us, something that we think about a lot? Lee, you're shaking your head a little bit. You don't think that happens?
Well, no. I mean, you just have to be who you are.
Yeah.
And people are going to embrace us for who we are. And we, it just kind of rolls off your back after a while if people look at us kind of differently. But, I wake up every day. I've got great family and great friends, and I got a good job.
See, you're so charming. You're a giant. You really are. You're such a charming guy.
Thank you.
We talked about this before the show too, and we both feel the same way. We both had issues with it before, but at some point you got to say, "Listen, this is who I am," and you can either be miserable or you can embrace it, like Lee said.
And it's funny because I was feeling really good, and then I started doing a little bit of work with Meredith, and she consistently refers to me as a freak, and it's kind of hard.
But the bottom line is, it is about the cult of personality.
Yes.
We need to get America to realize that we are prejudiced against people because of height. But at the end of the day, it's their issue and not your issue or our issue. We are who we are, and we're proud of that.
Thanks to all of you for coming on. Glad to have you.